The controversial sale of up to $55 million in artwork by the Berkshire Museum was approved earlier this month. Trustees had been pushing a plan to sell off parts of its collection, including paintings by Norman Rockwell, to boost finances, but legal challenges scuttled an auction planned for last November. The planned art sale, made public last July, has been a hot-button issue in the Berkshires and well beyond. Supporters have said the money will help the museum secure its financial future and bring the 19th century museum into the 21st century. But those opposed say selling artwork to support a museum's bottom line is a bad idea. Save the Arts, Save the Museum, a grassroots group, has called on the museum to pick a different course. Members Linda Cleary and Carrie Diehl joined me in the studio to discuss their point of view.
They are part of the history of the Berkshires and the Pittsfield area. It's like, well, Linda said this to me before, like get your mother selling your heirlooms that you're supposed to get. Those Hudson River paintings are the beginnings of land conservation. They are images of our terrain, our forests, and they belong at home. The Calder sculptures, which are up for auction.
Actually, in this initial, the 13 that are about to be sold, it's one Calder, just to be fair to the museum.
One Calder. They should keep all the Calders. Calder is an internationally known sculptor whose first commission was for the Berkshire Museum. So this is very significant history that they're selling. And the Hudson River paintings were donated by the founder. So he saw that as the beginnings of the museum.
As Save the Museum has been very involved in opposing the sale, well, now what is moving forward. It was a potential sale at one point. One of the points that people in your group raised was that these would be lost for public view. But now yes. Shuffleton's Barbershop, we know, the Norman Rockwell painting, will be in public view in the Berkshires for at least the next 2 years. And then it's being sold to, or it already has been sold, to the Lucas Museum in Los Angeles. So that painting will stay on public view. Isn't that the museum sort of bending to your will a bit?
Not really.
No, in what way?
Well, there's a difference between corporate museums and museums like the Berkshire Museum or the Albany Institute or the Rockmill Museum, which are really not-for-profit museums. They don't have the kind of corporate backing that the Lucas Museum does or the Walmart Harris's Museum does. These are people who can just drop $40 million on a painting. They don't exist all over, and these other works are going to go into private hands, never to be seen again.
From the very beginning, my whole issue with this has been that the entire plan, if you can call it that,
the New Vision
was
plan?
set up as, even before it became called the New Vision Plan, whatever, the entire setup of the sale of the art and the saving of the museum have been set up as an either-or proposition to the community. Yes. And the community has not been involved. This is not an either-or proposition. This was a proposition about how do we save and protect our museum. And what they did was because there is a lot of money involved, easy money if you want to call it that, with the Norman Rockwell painting, then it was set up as in order to do this, we must do that. And that is not, you don't start the discussion with the conclusion. You start the discussion looking for ideas and thoughts and tuning into the people. One thing that disappointed me about the judge's decision relative to it being a not-for-profit organization is that this sets a very dangerous precedent for any nonprofit organization, that you can have a board that comes in, they're pretty much self-selecting. You can stack the board with people who think like you rather than representative of the community that you presume to serve, and that they have a full power to just do what they want to do with those assets. Any not-for-profit exists in a tenuous balance and fiscal precariousness. It forces the organization to stay rooted and in touch with the community that it serves in order to keep, that the donations coming in and the mission fulfilled. When you sever that and you don't make an effort to fundraise, you don't make an effort to reach out to the community, even after objections were raised, there was no effort made to take into consideration other thoughts or points of view from either the people in the community or the professional community of the museum world at large.
Well, the museum would say that they held a visioning session, they
Yes,
brought
and
in
I've worked
400
I've
people
worked for
and
two
things like that.
Fortune 100 corporations and have participated in those type of retreats, and I understand how those work. And I also understand that sometimes the conclusion is foregone from those. And,
To your
so that
point
was,
about community involvement,
I think
but
that's
we-
the more important point.
but to your point
We
about
have to
community
make
involvement,
it clear, though, that since you brought up that kind of visioning process, no one was told what the costs would be. No one was told that the payoff would be the work. No one was told that the paintings in the collection were going to fund this new vision. So that's a big part of it. And also, what I think is very important is that the climate has changed since they've made this announcement. They are now a nationally known entity. Mm-hmm. Like the Detroit Institute of the Arts, which was in a similar situation and pulled itself out, they could use this publicity to fundraise like crazy. They could get money nationally and internationally, and they are not considering that. So it's not, now they have a choice, and they're taking the easy road.
one of the points that the letter that Save the Art, Save the Museum, full-page letter that they put in the Berkshire Eagle raised was the fact that this has caused a lot of strife in the community. How do you move forward now as a community? Because it's clear that you're passionate about the museum.
It is up to the museum to move forward with integrity and with the transparency that has not been their mode of action.
Well, to your point about community involvement, there have been some people who've left the Board of Trustees. They've filled 2 of those seats. Would you, either of you or someone from Save the Art, reach out to the museum and say, you know what, we'd like to work, we'd like to be on the Board of Trustees, we'd like to help you move forward or work on this issue moving forward?
If they were to commit to ethical practices, if they were to commit to fiscal transparency, if they were to commit to a dialogue with the community and what the community wants, and if this happened before they got rid of all the art and we had an opportunity to fundraise like crazy, then yes. But without those considerations, I wouldn't contribute my time to an organization that's on a track that's not going to be interested in my input.
It's a broad subject we could spend a lot of time on, but
Right.
unfortunately I have to leave it there. Thanks for coming in today. We had hoped to also present you with the museum's perspective on this issue, but Berkshire Museum trustees were not available for an interview, and an interview request with Van Shields, the museum's executive director, was declined. News of the museum's future plans were first reported in the Berkshire Eagle last July. And for those interested in more information, you can find a range of coverage on the Eagle's website, berkshireeagle.com.